Hello everybody, Shinjo here, and welcome back to Let's Talk Anime episode 64. It's probably not as much time in between posting the last one and this video, but it's definitely been a lot of time in between recording these. And I'll get into that a bit later. But let's just jump into this. First is Pokemon Twilight Wings, and I don't want to dive too far into the reasoning why, but basically I don't have my notes in front of me. Kind of weird that I decided to record this without even having my notes in front of me, but what are you gonna do? So if there's anything else I want to add for these three topics, I'll include it in post-editing, but I don't think there's gotta be much. Twilight Wings, honestly, I forgot about what it specifically was for a time. I know that there's the two main characters. The one is like in the hospital for some reason, I can't remember why. Because I remember that he admired Leon and they had that big battle. Because I remember the Patters clip of...
Please don't forget about the child. No, they're literally... No, they're gonna kill the child! Get the kid off the field! What are you doing? John! John, run! Oh god, there's missiles now! Oh no! There's meteors! John!
I also remember that there were other episodes, like the one focused on Oleana, the one focused on Nessa, and especially the one focused on Bede. Honestly, the fact that I didn't remember it isn't a good sign to even start with. But I remember really liking it. I remember watching the B episode after going to the store one morning because I posted while I was out or something to that effect. I can't remember. But overall, this seems to be I don't want to say a better version, but this is basically what Journey should have been. Not to harp on it too much, but Journeys had very little gala representation, and this series basically having an episode dedicated to most of the gym leaders, or at least a large portion of them, and even characters like Hop, certainly made a difference and gave them more personality, something that Journeys never actually did. But unfortunately, overall, there isn't really much more that I can say. Sure, I could go into depth on each individual episode or certain moments of it, but to be quite honest, I don't really remember a lot of them. So there's unfortunately not really much more for me to add. So moving on to the next topic, and this is the reason why I took so long to record this. Because Mob Psycho Season 3, just to give context, this and the new season of My Hero are two that my brother and I watch back to back. And with his schedule and my schedule, we just never really meet up. So we never got a chance to watch it. So we watched the majority of the show last week and we finished it today, so a lot of this is probably going to be recency bias, and I can guarantee that I'm going to go into spoilers on this. But before I delve into the new season, I'll talk about Mob as a whole, because from what I can gather, this is basically everything from Mob Psycho 100 unless they decide to have side stories or something. Overall, as a concept, Mob Psycho seemed like it would be kind of standard generic fare. Just for context, this is something that was made by the same person that made One Punch Man, so the idea of an overpowered protagonist isn't really foreign at this point. But what I feel like Saitama does kind of lackluster that Mob does better is that he does have weaknesses. Mob is kind of awkward. Mob is holding back his emotions, which plays into the end of the show. Saitama doesn't really have many flaws unless you count like bugs or something. Plus, the characters of Mob Psycho are, in my opinion, better. Granted, you could argue that there are some superhero basis in One Punch Man that people might like better. People probably like Genos, and I know people just make jokes about liking Moomin Rider in general. But I'll focus more on Mob Psycho just to make things easier. Mob Psycho in general, just from watching the first season, was kind of okay. The art style was definitely really cool. The characters were really funny. Had really nice comedy and animation as well. But I don't remember what the big climax was at the end of the first season. I don't really remember at all. I know that in the second season, the climax was the leader of that psychic group, which comes into play, as well as all the members of his group at the end of this season. But in general, there was really no big looming threat until season 2. And the fact that they take concepts like the group that Dimple was a part of and actually develop it at the end of this season was really cool as well. I still don't know exactly how I feel about Dimple's arc basically wrapping up at the halfway point of the show, because they have the whole thing with Dimple becoming basically a god, and they wrap all of that up before half of the show is even done. I still don't know entirely how I feel about it. I guess it's a nice way to pace out the rest of the end of the show, because in hindsight, the fact that the big boss at the end, basically put, is Mob and his berserk power going out of control, is a really nice callback to all of the other stuff that happened in the show. The OPs, the counter climbing up till he reaches 99% and going berserk, all of that stuff plays in nicely to the very end of the show. And like I said before, just in general, I like Mob as a character. Even Reagan, a lot of people might say it as a meme, but I genuinely like Reagan as a character. He rides the line of being really heartwarming, but also really comedic as well. But the new season, it's just really more of the same in general. I really like this series, and I still think, after watching the newest season, it's still solidly in my top 10. Where exactly at, I'm not sure, but this show is just really good. It definitely has more of a comedic sort of art style. It's definitely more child-friendly in a way to put it, but I just really like it. While the concept isn't exactly the same, it reminds me of Osama Ranking of Kings, where the art style looks a lot more simplistic and a bit childish, but the show is really good, the plot is really interesting, and I feel like the same holds true for Mob Psycho. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen Mob Psycho, please watch this show. I hope that there isn't much that I spoiled from this that would deter you from watching it, but it's just a really good show overall. And the wrap up with Mob's plot with Tsubomi as well, granted it didn't really need to have a solid conclusion after everything that happened with Mob, it still felt like a really nice cap off. And the fact that they ended with Reagan's birthday as well is just really hilarious and heartwarming. But we're down to the last topic of the day. I don't really know why I'm hiding it, because you can see the thumbnail. The last topic is VTubers, and I put a picture of Amelie's on here because that's really the only frame of reference that I have. To give context, I know of VTubers, I know the whole concept of it, I've watched videos discussing it, but I wasn't sure exactly what research I should do before talking about it, because there's definitely anime inspiration with a lot of these art styles. Oh, also the art is right down there, so I just want to get that out of the way. I just found a picture online, and that's what I went with. But yeah, the art is Saipa Incorporated? I don't know. But yeah, there is very little that I know about it. I definitely know of, what's the name? Kizuna Ai. That's definitely the most well-known one. But the reason that Amelie's is on here, Monarch, the name I believe, is because I didn't know where to even turn for reference points. So I just started watching her live stream of Violet, I think. It was either Scarlet or Violet, one of the two. And her just playing through the game, and that's basically the only frame of reference, because I've never watched a VTuber just like live stream whatever game, because I don't have time, I suppose. I guess I'm just busy watching anime. But yeah, that's really all the knowledge that I have about it. I'm sure there are a lot of VTubers that people like. I know there was one that was on the Calm Mind, not the Calm Mind podcast, that's something different. The Trash Taste podcast. They had one on there, Mori Calliope, that's the name I believe. I remember that, but otherwise I know very little about it. Like, I definitely have favorites in a way to put it. Like, Amelie, I already liked her music, so that certainly helps already. And, which one is it? Corone, whatever you pronounce it, the dog one. I like her just because she's kind of ditzy and goofy and reminds me of characters like Nadeshiko and Chica. So, that's basically the only knowledge I have about it. But as far as my verdict, which I'm sure people really care about, really, I don't really notice much difference. Obviously, there's always those people that fall in love with anime characters and actual shows, and depending on how extreme it is, might be a bit weird, in my opinion. But overall, just from watching Monarch's live stream, I don't really notice much of a difference. Like, yeah, definitely real people behind the camera, so it's really no different from me watching an A-Drive live stream or Shady Penguin. I watch a lot of people that play Pokemon, in case you haven't noticed so far. But overall, there's not really much of a difference. It's just that these people look like anime characters instead. And for a lot of people, that's probably all that it takes. For me, it just boils down to personality, which the ditzy Korone, from what I've seen, is probably why I like her more. But really, there's not much else that I can add. I'm not sure why this was a topic, but like, I watched Amelie's live stream for it. I might continue it, I don't know. But that's really all the research that I did for it. So I'm sure there's dates from like, here's the first VTuber, here's the first one to reach 1 million subscribers. I don't really care about all of that. Here's my research and here's what I am saying. So yeah, this is definitely a scuffed video, but you know, it's a Let's Talk Anime video. It's not going to be a scuffed video unless it's one of my videos. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't. If you have any other topics for Let's Talk Anime, leave them down in the comment section. I only have 2 topics for the next video, so if you want to give me more, or I can come up with my own, let me know down in the comment section. And I'll see you next time. Momentai.
Oh my god, there's kaijus!